You are standing in a room full of people who once knew you. They watch you. Something in their eyes shifts. Not warmth, not welcome, but confusion. You are not who they remember. Not bitter, not reactive, not breakable. You left that person behind, somewhere between the suffering they caused and the silence where you rebuilt yourself. The question is, how did you get here? And how does anyone?
There is a particular poison that has no smell and no color. It is the story you keep telling yourself about what was done to you. Every repetition deepens the groove. Neuroscience calls it rumination. Stoicism calls it something sharper. A failure of the hegemonicon, your ruling faculty, surrendering its authority to external events. You are not being hurt again. You are choosing to relive the wound, as though reliving it changes it. Marcus Aurelius ruled the largest empire on earth and was surrounded by betrayal, ingratitude, and men who wanted him replaced. He wrote in his private journal, never meant for anyone to read, in 170 AD, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." He did not write this for posterity. He wrote it to remind himself, alone, at night, that the wound could become load-bearing architecture.
Here is what your enemies counted on. They expected the wound to keep you small. Smallness is predictable. A person nursing grievance moves in circles. Same arguments, same sleepless nights, same diminished radius of living. They calculated your future based on your past reactions. They expected a specific version of you to persist. That is the assumption you must betray. Not for revenge, for something far more final than revenge.
Epictetus was born a slave in Hierapolis around 50 AD. His master once twisted his leg to test his endurance. Epictetus said calmly, "You will break it." It broke. He said, "Did I not tell you it would break?" He did not perform Stoicism. He had internalized the dichotomy of control so completely that his hegemonicon remained sovereign even inside physical destruction. He walked with a limp his entire life. He walked further than any of them. The dichotomy of control is not passivity. It is the most aggressive inner act possible. Epictetus wrote in the Enchiridion, "Men are disturbed not by things, but by their judgments about things." Your enemies gave you an event. Your judgment about that event is entirely yours. This is not gentle philosophy. This is the recognition that your suffering, as long as it depends on what they did, still belongs to them. Reclaim it. Every judgment you revise is territory reconquered. And if this is stirring something in you, subscribe. What arrives next in this channel matters even more. Here is where the transformation stops being philosophical and becomes biological. When you practice prosoche, vigilant attention to your own inner movements, you interrupt the automation of reaction. Every time you catch the grievance forming and redirect your ruling faculty toward virtue instead, you are literally repatterning who you are. The old you required their behavior to define itself. The new you requires nothing from them. But here is where the story takes an unexpected turn. Most people pursue transformation as performance. They want to look changed for the people who hurt them.
that motivation is still a chain. Seneca warned in Letters to Lucilius around 65 AD, "Retire into yourself as much as you can." He was describing something radical, that the only audience for your becoming is yourself. The moment you transform to impress an enemy, you have made them your master again.
Amor fati, love of fate, not mere acceptance. That is too weak a translation. Marcus Aurelius practiced something more demanding, the active embrace of everything that happened, including the worst of it, as necessary material for virtue. Premeditatio malorum, the deliberate pre-living of hardship, was his daily morning exercise. He did not wait for suffering to teach him. He rehearsed it. He arrived at the wound already partially forged. This is not resignation. This is strategic preparation of the soul.
Wait, what comes next is what few truly understand about this transformation. Becoming unrecognizable is not about becoming harder. It is about becoming denser, more concentrated, more fully yourself. Your old enemies expect emotion to be the lever they can always pull. Apatheia, freedom from irrational passion, does not mean you feel nothing. It means their actions no longer trigger automatic response. You move from reaction to considered action. That gap between stimulus and response is where your new identity lives.
Tomorrow morning, before you do anything else, open your journal. Write one sentence. What judgment am I still carrying that belongs to someone else? Then write the names. Do not analyze yet. Name the judgments they installed. This is prosoche, made concrete. Seneca wrote that we must audit ourselves daily, not to punish, but to reclaim. Every judgment you identify that originated outside you is one you can consciously revise. This is not therapy. This is the practice of sovereignty. Specifically, choose one person whose opinion of you still causes contraction in your chest. Then practice what Musonius Rufus called living according to nature. Act from virtue regardless of their assessment. Not once, daily. 7 consecutive days of choosing your own rational standard over their implied judgment. By day 7, something has shifted. Not in them, in the architecture of your interior life. The groove of reaction has begun to smooth. You are no longer the person they cataloged. In 177 AD, Emperor Marcus Aurelius faced Avidius Cassius, his own general, a man he had trusted, who declared himself emperor in the east, while Marcus was campaigning in the north. When Cassius was assassinated before they met in battle, Marcus ordered that all his letters be burned unread. He refused to know which senators had conspired. He said, "I would rather pardon 100 guilty men than condemn one innocent." This was not weakness. This was apatheia made imperial policy.
Here is what your enemies will never understand. They will see the new version of you and search for the wound they left. It will not be where they put it, not because it healed, because you transmuted it. Through prosoche, through the daily practice of the dichotomy of control, through amor fati, into something structural. The wound became wall. The wall became foundation. The foundation became the floor of a room they will never enter. That is the only transformation worth having.
The technique promised at the start. It is not a single act. It is the compounding of daily inner sovereignty, prosoche in the morning, journaled audit at night, and every moment between, governed by the question Epictetus set: is this in my control or not? Your enemies knew a person shaped by their actions. That person is gone. If this reflection moved you, subscribe. Tomorrow we go deeper into what Marcus Aurelius actually wrote before sleeping each night. The bell ensures you won't miss it. What kind of person do you want to be unrecognizable as?